She always looked down on me, convinced she was superior, but the moment she tried to ruin my life, she unknowingly set fire to her own. And when the smoke cleared, I was still standing while she had lost everything. For 10 years, Evelyn Carter kept a secret. At 34, she was the youngest director in the history of Westwood Memorial Hospital, but her older sister, Vanessa, never knew. Instead, Vanessa believed Evelyn was nothing more than a waitress, a belief Evelyn never corrected. It wasn't shame that kept her silent. She had worked as a waitress during her university years, a job she was proud of. But to Vanessa, it was a permanent label, one she used to look down on her. And so Evelyn played along. The truth was, Vanessa had always been obsessed with social status. She married young, choosing Gregory, a plastic surgeon who made a comfortable living. From that point on, Vanessa treated those beneath her with thinly veiled disdain, including Evelyn. When Evelyn got engaged to Daniel, a brilliant neurosurgeon, Vanessa could hardly believe it. "Are you seriously going to be a waitress for the rest of your life?" She scoffed while Evelyn tried on her wedding dress. "I can't believe Daniel actually wants to marry you." Daniel, of course, knew the truth. He loved Evelyn for who she was, not for her title, but Vanessa remained oblivious, too preoccupied with flaunting her wealth. "Do you even know how much my handbag costs?" she sneered. Oh, Evelyn knew. She also knew that Gregory had applied for a position at her hospital just a week ago. His interview was scheduled for Monday, 2 days after the wedding. The wedding day arrived, a grand affair filled with elegant guests. Just as Evelyn and Daniel were about to exchange vows, Vanessa shot up from her seat. "This is ridiculous," she shouted. "A waitress marrying a doctor? What a disgrace!" A stunned silence filled the church. Evelyn's heart pounded, but before Daniel could speak, she lifted a hand to stop him. "Sit down, Vanessa," she said firmly. "No," Vanessa shrieked, her voice shrill. "Tell them the truth. My sister didn't even finish college. She's been lying to everyone." A murmur spread through the crowd. Then, before anyone could react, the church doors burst open. Dr. Reynolds, chairman of Westwood Memorial's board, rushed inside. "Dr. Carter," he called. The entire room turned to Evelyn. "There's been a massive accident on the highway. We need your authorization to activate emergency protocol immediately." Evelyn took the documents from his hands and signed them without hesitation. She turned to Daniel, who smiled at her warmly. "Go save lives," he said. As Evelyn made her way to the exit, she paused beside Vanessa, who stood frozen, her face drained of color. Leaning in, Evelyn whispered, "By the way, dear sister, your husband has an interview with me on Monday. I hope he's more professional than you." Then, without another word, she walked out, leaving Vanessa standing there, utterly speechless. Monday came faster than expected. The accident had been managed successfully, and though Evelyn and Daniel's wedding ceremony had been delayed until midnight, with half the guests still in hospital scrubs, they had still gotten married. Vanessa and Gregory, of course, had left long before that. Now, as Evelyn sat behind her desk, her assistant stepped in. "Dr. Gregory Mitchell is here for his interview. Send him in," Evelyn replied, straightening a file on her desk. Gregory's file. It contained not only his resume, but also some disturbing reports from his private practice. Gregory entered, looking pale. Gone was the arrogant man Evelyn had heard boasting at family gatherings. He was visibly shaken. "Have a seat," she said coolly. He hesitated before sitting, his fingers twitching. "Dr. Mitchell," she began, her tone professional. "Evelyn, Dr. Carter," she corrected, emphasizing her title. "We're in a professional setting," Gregory swallowed hard. "Of course, Dr. Carter." Evelyn opened his file. "You've been working at Riverside Aesthetic Clinic, correct?" "Yes," he answered, his voice tight. "And in the past 2 years, you've had 3 malpractice lawsuits filed against you." Gregory stiffened. "That was a misunderstanding." "Is it also a misunderstanding that you've been billing cosmetic procedures as reconstructive surgeries to collect insurance payouts?" She watched his face go slack with horror. "How do you know that?" he groped. "I run the largest hospital in the city, Gregory. I have access to resources." Before he could respond, her phone rang. It was Vanessa. Without hesitation, she answered on speaker. "Alice." Vanessa's voice was desperate. "You can't do this to Gregory. He needs this job." "I'm in the middle of an interview," Evelyn replied smoothly. "Please, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry about the wedding. But don't ruin our lives over some petty revenge." Evelyn chuckled. "Revenge," she repeated. "Vanessa, this isn't personal. It's a standard job interview where I'm simply reviewing a candidate's professional history. You've always been jealous of me, Vanessa snapped. Evelyn smirked. Jealous of what exactly? I have a doctorate in medicine. I'm the youngest hospital director in history. I just married the love of my life. What part of your life am I supposed to envy? Silence. Then a whisper. I. Evelyn's tone remained steady. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to discuss your husband's insurance fraud. Vanessa gasped. Fraud? Oh, you didn't know? Evelyn asked mockingly. Funny, considering the fraudulent claims were filed under your clinic's name. Gregory visibly crumbled. Evelyn pulled out another document, a resignation letter. Sign this, she said coolly. Resign from your clinic, return the stolen money, and this won't escalate further. Gregory's hands trembled as he signed. Just then, the office doors burst open. Vanessa stormed in, makeup streaked, hair a mess. You can't do this to us, she shrieked. Evelyn sighed. Remember when you told me at my wedding that I didn't deserve to marry a doctor? Well, turns out you were right. I didn't just marry a doctor. I married an honest man. Vanessa's face contorted with rage. This isn't over. Evelyn tilted her head. Oh, but it is, because what Vanessa didn't know was that the fraud investigation was already underway. That afternoon, investigators would raid the clinic. By the next morning, the headline would read, Riverside Aesthetic Clinic under investigation for insurance fraud. As Evelyn sipped her morning coffee, Daniel glanced at the TV. Vanessa's been calling all night, she murmured, left 47 voicemails. Did you listen to them? Daniel asked. Only the first one, she said with a smirk. She went from calling me a vindictive witch to begging for help in under 30 seconds. Her phone vibrated again. Another desperate text from Vanessa. Evelyn exhaled, dialing her number. Vanessa picked up instantly. Alice, thank God. We need your help. Evelyn's voice was sharp. No, Vanessa, you did this to yourself, and now you face the consequences. Then, without another word, she hung up.
Vanessa's pleas echoed in Evelyn's mind, but she felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just the inevitable weight of the moment. She had spent years allowing Vanessa to believe she was beneath her. And now Vanessa was finally seeing the truth. But it was too late. Evelyn placed her phone down, exhaling sharply. Before she could collect her thoughts, the doorbell rang. Daniel, ever composed, walked over and opened it. Standing there was Detective Harris, folder in hand, his expression serious. Dr. Carter, he greeted, I need your official statement regarding the Mitchell case. Evelyn nodded. She didn't hang up on Vanessa, not yet. She wanted her sister to hear this. Vanessa, she said, voice cool and steady, do you want the truth? Because I wasn't the one who started this investigation. Silence. Then a shaky whisper. Well, what? Evelyn continued, her tone unwavering. It was one of Gregory's own patients, a woman who nearly died from an infection after one of his botched procedures. My investigation only confirmed what was already suspected. Another pause. Then the realization hit Vanessa. This will ruin us, she whispered, her voice barely audible. You can't let this happen. Evelyn let out a short laugh, devoid of humor. No, Vanessa, you ruined yourselves, you and Gregory, and you didn't just destroy your own lives, you hurt innocent people, patients who trusted you, people who believed you cared about their well-being. Vanessa's voice cracked. I didn't know. You did, Evelyn interrupted. You knew about the complaints, you knew about the lawsuits, but you were too busy showing off your designer handbags and bragging about your 6-figure salary to care. There was nothing left to say. Evelyn hung up, handing the folder to Detective Harris. Let's proceed. As she signed her statement, the weight of it all settled over her. Vanessa had spent years looking down on her. Now she was the one facing the consequences. The next morning, the fallout had begun. Every news channel was covering the scandal. Riverside Aesthetic Clinic shut down amid fraud investigation. Dr. Gregory Mitchell faces criminal charges. The headlines were brutal. Evelyn sipped her coffee as Daniel sat beside her, flipping through the channels. Vanessa's been calling again, he murmured. 62 voicemails now. Evelyn exhaled, setting her cup down. I know what she wants. Daniel looked at her. Are you going to answer? For a moment, she hesitated. Then, slowly, she picked up her phone and dialed. Vanessa answered on the first ring. Evelyn, please. They're freezing our accounts. We might lose the house, the cars, everything. You have to help us. Evelyn's voice was calm. And why would I do that? A strangled sob came through the line. Because we're family. Family. The word stung more than she cared to admit. Family was supposed to support each other, not tear each other down. And yet, for years, Vanessa had treated her like nothing. Now, suddenly, she remembered their bond. I told you, Evelyn said, voice like ice. This wasn't my doing. You and Gregory chose this path. You built your life on fraud and arrogance, and now you're paying for it. Please, Vanessa whimpered. Mum and Dad wouldn't have wanted this. A sharp pain cut through Evelyn's chest at the mention of their parents. They had been gone for years, but their absence still left a wound. For a brief moment, doubt flickered in her mind. But then she remembered Vanessa had never cared about their parents' values, only about appearances. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Don't you dare bring them into this. Vanessa broke. She sobbed, pleading, bargaining. But Evelyn had already made her choice. Goodbye, Vanessa, she said, her voice final. She hung up. No hesitation, no regret. Daniel reached over, gently squeezing her hand. You did the right thing. Evelyn let out a slow breath. The weight of years had finally lifted. She had always believed that the truth had power. And now Vanessa understood that too. But some lessons come too late. 2 weeks passed, and the world kept moving. Gregory was officially charged with insurance fraud, malpractice, and falsifying medical records. The authorities froze Vanessa's assets, seized the luxury cars, and put their estate on the market to recover lost funds. Her once glamorous life had crumbled, piece by piece, leaving nothing but shattered pride and desperation. Evelyn hadn't heard from her sister in days, and for a while she thought that was the end of it. Until one evening, as she and Daniel sat in their living room, the doorbell rang. Daniel shot her a knowing look before rising to answer it. Standing on their doorstep was Vanessa, looking nothing like the woman Evelyn had grown up with. Her hair was unkempt, her expensive clothes wrinkled and stained. The confidence, the superiority, all of it was gone. Evelyn stood slowly, arms crossed, watching her sister with a mix of wariness and something she couldn't quite name. Vanessa! Vanessa swallowed hard, glancing nervously at Daniel before looking back at Evelyn. Can we talk? Her voice was small, fragile. Evelyn studied her for a long moment before finally stepping aside. 5 minutes. Vanessa walked in hesitantly, as if expecting to be thrown out at any moment. She sat on the couch, wringing her hands. I don't know where else to go, she admitted. Everything is gone, the house, the cars, even my accounts. I don't even have enough to pay rent on a studio apartment. Evelyn remained silent, waiting. I was wrong, Vanessa whispered. About everything, about you, about life. I thought money and status were what mattered. I thought if I had those things, I was better than everyone else. But I see it now. I had nothing. And now I really have nothing. Evelyn let out a slow breath. And what do you want from me? Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. Maybe just a chance? A way to start over? The plea was real, raw, but was it enough? Evelyn felt the weight of the moment pressing against her. This was what she had wanted for years, not revenge, not punishment, but acknowledgement. She had wanted Vanessa to see, to truly understand. And now here she was, broken, humbled. She looked at Daniel, who watched her with quiet support. He wasn't going to tell her what to do. This was her choice. Evelyn exhaled. A fresh start isn't something I can just hand you, Vanessa. You have to earn it. Vanessa nodded quickly. I will. I swear Evelyn studied her carefully. I can't fix what you did. I won't make the consequences disappear, but if you're serious, if you really want to rebuild, I'll help you find an honest job. Nothing glamorous, no shortcuts, just work. If you're willing to start from the bottom, like the rest of us had to, then maybe, you'll find something real. Vanessa hesitated, then nodded. I'll do it. Evelyn wasn't sure she believed her, but for the first time in years, she saw something new in Vanessa's eyes. Sincerity. Maybe it was desperation, or maybe, just maybe, it was the start of something real. She stood, nodding toward the door. Come back tomorrow, we'll talk then. Vanessa's shoulders sagged with relief. She stood, nodding. Thank you, Evelyn. As the door closed behind her, Evelyn let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She didn't know if Vanessa would truly change. But she did know this. Whatever happened next, it was out of her hands. Daniel slid an arm around her waist, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. That was generous, he murmured. Evelyn leaned into him, exhaustion settling in. I guess we'll see if it was worth it. Outside, Vanessa walked away into the night. Whether she would take the opportunity or squander it, that was a story only time would tell. In the end, the truth always rises to the surface, no matter how deeply it's buried. Vanessa spent years living in a world of arrogance and illusion, believing that status and wealth defined a person's worth. But when the facade crumbled, she was left with nothing but regret. Evelyn didn't need revenge, she only needed the truth to reveal itself. This story isn't just about betrayal and justice, it's about character, integrity, and the consequences of our choices. What truly matters isn't how high we climb, but how we treat people along the way. Respect, honesty, and hard work will outlast any fleeting status. If you enjoyed this story and want more gripping tales of karma, redemption, and unexpected twists, follow for more.